Sunday, I had a hearing, and that's why he was delayed. He's too modest to say it for himself. But since my bill is before his committee, so his hearing ain't even bad, I just want to tell you, this honorable chairman would have been on time, but he was considering great legislative business. My friend, Dr. Sanjay, please welcome.
His bill got out, but I reserve, as the chairman of the Senate Labor Committee, the ability to recall it back into the committee. And in keeping with the previous comments about gender and intelligence, I just want to say how tough it is to follow two really intelligent people, Joan and Sonny. I love you, brother. That's why I wanted to last. I do want to say, a lot of us have a background, a past with Sonny. I actually have had the struggle of having to replace Sonny on the Board of Supervisors when Pete Wilson appointed me in 1993-94. So a lot of my interest in reform comes from what I learned from Sonny and what I continue to learn from Sonny and what I learned on the Board of Supervisors. Some of the staff in the Senate somewhat mockingly refer to me as the Senate's chief reformite. I carry a bill for California Forward, SEI 19, which would do all the things they want to do in the Senate. It's a compliment to Assemblymember Keller, who was my co-chair of a committee who had a series of hearings on reform and improving state government. Last week, 2 weeks ago, we got two significant bills off of the Senate floor with bipartisan support. I only have one no vote, one by Senator Wolf that Joan is on performance-based budgeting. Again, learned a lot of that from Sonny, and we try to do it in Contra, Costa County, and we're successful in many pilot projects. The Wilson administration is the last time to give due credit to try to do performance-based budgeting in California. They did 5 pilot projects. 2 of them worked pretty well, 1 of them sort of, and 2 of them didn't work because there wasn't enough follow-through. Our idea is not to do pilots, is to bring it through the whole system and take 5 to 10 years to implement it in a meaningful way. So the good news is we got that passed, and then the other bill that I'm carrying is the budget part of California Forward would require multiple-year budgeting, would also have a requirement in there if the administration, any administration, when they come out with their budget, if they suggest new programs, they've got to identify where the funding comes from. You would think that that would be a simple thing to do. And conversely, if we do tax cuts, it's also got to identify through the LAO the consequences of those tax cuts. So as Sandra said, we as politicians can drop taxes and want to be very popular, like the vehicle license fee, but if we knew then what we know now, and of course no one would have known about what you all have been, unfortunately, at the forefront through this amazing economic recession that the whole globe has. But if we had just thought about the difference of that $6 billion that we would have had every year for the last 7 years, and the $250 on average it cost Californians in their vehicle license fee, which was in place for 50 years before the early 90s and nobody said anything about it. A very progressive tax, it's put as a percentage of the car, 2% of the value of the car. So would we have paid for that as opposed to how we're paying for it now is a good question. So those components are in the bill. As Milton Friedman and Ron Emanuel said, a crisis is a terrible thing to waste. You folks, of all people, understand what you've been through in the last few years. And I think this is why my own sort of instinctive feeling about why the general public is so mad at us in Congress is they fail to see the sense of urgency in us that they have in their day-to-day life. You as realtors see this all the time in your personal, professional life and the people you serve. So I fear that we won't take this opportunity, this crisis. And there are many things, we talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, and I'll give a perfect example because Sonny's here. It's not deliberate. We have something called the Service Integration Team in Contra, Costa County that Sonny helped start. It happened during the Wilson administration. I won't bore you with all the details, but it's very simple. You put the resources where the needs are. So in North Richmond and Bay Point, Contra Costa County, where the most at-risk families are, they have a place to go to in their community that has full services for them. So they don't have to go to Martinez, so they don't have to go to Richmond. Or if it was in Alameda, they don't have to go to downtown Oakland to a big bureaucratic office. They go down the street, they have a probation officer, public health nurse, a caseworker, somebody from the Office of Education, and we track the success of these service integration teams. Now this is a pilot that went in place in 1992. So we know it works. It's time to bring it to scale. When we measure this against the general population, all the outcomes are better. Kids stay in school longer. You don't have kids going into foster care and adoption because one of the parents gets in trouble or both the parents. So those are the kind of things that systemically we could change. And if we don't change them now, under this opportunity, they'll never get changed. So people will continue to go to multiple different offices to get the same services they could get in one place. It's really as simple as that. For those of you in retail, you would never think of doing it any other way. It's not a deliberate thing, but it's a thing that's in our culture in the public sector that has to be changed. And it should be bipartisan, and it has been bipartisan, that we want to change those things. So I just finished with, when we got the bills off the floor, the one thing I said to my Republican colleagues is that we should work together, because the one reason we're up here to improve and to help stimulate excellence in public service. And if you can do that in the private sector, why can't you do it in the public sector? We should do that. And so far, it's been working at least on these two bills, and I hope they, a little nudge here to my Assembly colleagues, hopefully they'll successfully get off the floor of the Assembly. So thank you for what you do.